Hi, my name is Raven Newberry, and today we are in Denver, Colorado to talk to students, teachers, and stakeholders about the impact of financial education.
My name is Phil Schuman. I'm the president of the Higher Education Financial Wellness Alliance. We're an organization that's focused on trying to bring financial wellness into the higher education space through programming, through financial education development, through the Cash Course platform. Basically, we just sort of exist to help institutions find ways to educate their students on personal finance and help students overcome financial barriers to completion. Yeah, financial education is important because the world of higher education finance has gotten so complex. And we're seeing students now that are having to face financial challenges like they've never had to face before. And so we're seeing students coming into the higher ed space not sure of how to navigate all the systems and all the complexities behind the finances to pay for college. And they need a place where they can feel comfortable to talk to somebody and figure out what's going to be best for them. And so we like to put in programming, both at the institution I represent and as well as through HEFWA to basically help figure out how can we best have positive, very healthy conversations with students that are going to allow them to graduate and achieve their economic prosperity. I think some students come into college with financial literacy, but I think the spectrum of that financial literacy is all over the board. We see some students who really equate financial literacy with like stocks and bonds and investments. And so we have students that are very eager to tell us we have an investment portfolio or they have an investment portfolio, which is great, but that's not all of financial literacy. That is a component of it. And then we've got students who come in and they understand what a budget is. They know that they should be very concerned about their credit. I'm not entirely sure why, but I don't think they have like all of the knowledge. I think they have a piece of the knowledge, and then it's up to us to sort of put that stuff in place and help them figure out how does all of this work together. And really what we want to do is encourage the conversation of what makes them financially successful. Like that's to us what financial education should be, is not like, well, you need to know what credit is, you need to know what budget is. We need to ask you the question of what does it mean to you to be financially successful, and then build a program around that. The biggest issues we see with students as it relates to financial literacy, I think, are a lot of misconceptions. I think they're interested in learning about finances, but they're not sure what source to be using to get that information. And if you just do a random Google or something like that, you're going to be able to find whatever answer you want to find. And so we see a lot of misconceptions around the idea of credit. I think that's the biggest one we see, where students come in, they are very quick to point out, I have a really high credit score. And then we're like, well, do you know what that means? It doesn't mean that you have a really good financial life. It just means you're a really good borrower and people want to give you more money as a result of that. And so we have to sort of put those misconceptions and help them frame it as to what it means to them so they can be healthy from a financial perspective. But some of the other challenges that we see, or some of the misconceptions as well, is not necessarily financial education related, but also on the front of how to navigate life in general. Food insecurity, housing insecurity, overall financial fragility is now a big thing on college campuses, and financial education isn't necessarily going to solve that. But understanding, part of financial literacy is knowing what resources you have at your disposal to get help when you need it. That's a misconception, or that's a knowledge that we want to pass along to students as well, is you can go to these places to be more successful because they're going to support you in your times of need. The courses that exist in financial education within the college system, they're few and far between first. There aren't a whole lot, there's a lot of bureaucracy. There's a lot of difficult channels you have to navigate in order to get a financial course or a personal finance course in college before you can even have one. Do they promote different behaviors in those students? I don't know if they necessarily promote different behaviors, but they teach different things. Because I think at that point, the focus on that is really about the wealth building aspect of things. It's funny, I don't see as much focus on the budgeting side of things or on the credit side of things. I really see it because oftentimes they're housed through the business schools, the focus really on that wealth management piece and how can we get you to have more money over the course of your life. And so I think the behavior that they might promote that's a little bit differently is that the end focus is on achieving as much wealth as possible. And I think there's less focus on the individual at that point and really not taking in that holistic lens that basically asks the question to the students, who do you want to be financially as a person? And so we'd like to see more courses that are taught go that route, where all that knowledge is there, but it really puts in the perspective of what does this mean to you? Yeah, I mean, we've been fortunate. The Higher Education Financial Wellness Alliance has been really fortunate over the years to have a great relationship with NEFE. They've been with us since the start, since 2014, when we first had our first conference, the National Summit on Collegiate Financial Wellness. And it was a great partnership from the beginning, just because it was great to have an organization so well respected be sort of in our corner on this and help us launch our programming. And every year since then, they've been with us. And then we were fortunate enough back in 2020 to be the recipients of Cash Course when NEFE decided to discontinue operations. And what I really do think is that relationship that we built since 2014 really relied on a lot of trust, or built trust over that course of time, so that NEFE knew when we took Cash Course over that it was in good hands, and that we also knew too that we were going to do right by NEFE on this and not just like explode Cash Course into something that doesn't resemble what it once was or what it was trying to do. So it's been a really great partnership over the years, and hope it continues in the future.
To learn more, visit nefe.org.